Hi, folks. Captain Greg DeRule here of the Black Hawk with my dear friend
CJ Adams.
CJ. Let me.
No, I want to introduce myself.
It says in the thing I'm supposed to do it. Why do you?
Why do
you take my glory away? CJ Adams.
He does this to me every day.
CJ Adams, we got a special here for you today. Okay, I am with my good friend Mike Pugliese. He owns two fish markets, one in West Mystic, Connecticut, and the other in Dunn's Corner, Rhode Island. Mike's known me for, well, the better part of 50 years, I guess. We're going to show you tonight on how to take care of your fish, how to clean your fish, how to take care of your knives. Let me get rid of this. You've all been tested, right? We're all, okay. How to take care of your knives and everything. So we're gonna start off probably taking care of the fish. Most important. We preach this on the boat, but go ahead, CJ.
We go through this every trip, whether it does any good or not. Every morning, Greg and I, whoever it is, we tell you guys what's going on, how to do things, how to bleed them, taking care of them. Every fish that is legal that you catch that comes over the boat, whether boat or in your backyard or anything for that matter, you want to bleed your fish. What's that mean? Take a finger, break that red little thing that's in its gills. Okay, break that. Some fish are a little tougher. You got to use a knife. A lot of guys use scissors. Okay.
They take scissors and just snip the gills.
Immediately when that fish comes over the rail, they bleed them.
They bleed them. They put them in a bucket of water, bleed them right out.
Yeah, bleed them. Okay. Then what? Then you get them on ice. Okay. A lot
slush,
of guys
slush. Get a cooler. Get a cooler. Throw a bunch of ice in there, a little bit of water, make a slush, and get the fish on the slush.
Now the slush.
What a difference it makes at the dinner table.
What we recommend and what you guys should get in the habit of, especially with saltwater fish, your slush. You want to use salt water in your slush, okay? You add the freshwater cubes, and then you add salt water to the slush. It makes the slush, so it's salt water. A lot of guys have us turn on the pumps. We fill up their cooler for them, make a bath for them. And then what's that fish do after it's bled? Right in there. Get him in there.
It makes such a difference. We talk about it every trip, and I would say the majority of people take care of them the right way. But it makes such a difference on taking care of the fish the right way. I don't care if you're going. These guys are going ice fishing tonight up at Gardner's Lake, and I guarantee you, if you catch a few walleye, they're gonna bleed them and they're gonna ice them. They're gonna slush them. It'll probably be
easy to do.
Probably be frozen slush tonight.
It might be. It might be.
But.
When you do
have
that,
alcohol with you when you're going to go on a lake at night, bitter cold. Do you drink when you do this?
You eat dinner usually every night?
Every night.
Well, there you go.
There must be some other attraction.
We just enjoy it,
Really enjoy it. Call me when you get there about 11:30, 12 o'clock. I want to know how much you enjoy it.
You know what I'm going with.
You're going with Jake. That's a trip in itself.
I'm going with Jake.
I know you're probably watching, Jake. Is he?
Yeah.
Is he watching? Hi, Jake.
Anyways, when you bleed those fish, guys, the quality at the dinner table goes up 1,000%. You can put them in a bag. You can put them in a bucket. When it's 90 degrees out in the middle of the summer, that's not the way to go. Sure, you can eat them, but it's not going to taste the same as it would if you were to bleed them and ice them.
Nice.
No question about it.
No.
Knives.
What
do you got there?
Jake says if they get one, it's for you.
Thank you. I've been asking for one.
we won't go there, Jake.
But. This is probably going to look like a Dexter commercial, but believe me,
it's only looking like that.
It's only looking like it because that's what we use, and majority of the fishing business use them. And one of the more popular ones is right there, right? The 6-inch.
This is my go-to. Here, hold this one.
Jake says it's never cold when he's around.
Yeah, this is my go-to. Okay, this is a Dexter Russell, a 1376, your traditional 6-inch knife. Okay,
1376. Remember that.
1376. This knife is perfect for anything as far as your porgies, your sea bass, smaller bluefish. You can even go as far as a 28-inch striped bass, legal. This is a good knife for that. It's very stiff. It's hard to bend, so it's a good rugged knife. Now it's a high carbon knife.
Now, can I do,
go ahead. Yeah.
Can I do the carbon?
Absolutely. Yeah. Greg wants to do the carbon. Go ahead.
I want to do the carbon.
This is my favorite, though, and he's going to explain a couple of more.
They come in different types of steel. I mean, the most popular is the stainless. Okay, like this. But the problem with the stainless is it doesn't rust, but it's hard to keep an edge on it. Now, Mike, you use a lot of stainless here, but he's got a steel, and he's under the perfect conditions, as you're going to see here in a little bit, and he can sharpen that stainless. What everybody else uses, or the majority, is carbon steel. It's so much easier to keep an edge on it, but the problem is it does rust.
They will rust,
You have
and
to take
you will
care
go
of it.
through them. But to us, if you want to have a quality fillet, and to you guys, you want to make sure you're using the right knife. You can go to Walmart and you can get some knives, and I'm not knocking Walmart because some knives are good there, no question about it. If you know how to sharpen a knife, so be it. But the Dexters, the high carbon knives especially, they sharpen the best, and they hold an edge for quite some time. They are a little more expensive than your average Walmart or Stop and Shop knife, you know, but they last, and the fillets come out better than they would with a dull knife, obviously. So
Sharpening.
Old
school. I never used one of these in my life.
I graduated to
come
those.
I come with a stone. We always used to use a stone. In fact, at night, I used to put Comet, you know,
The cleaner.
the cleaner, Comet on there, and it's almost like a valve grinding compound. And boy, I'd sharpen them knives. You could shave with it, you know. Today, you guys just don't do it. I mean, they use these, which is a knife sharpener, but it does take a lot of the material off of the knife.
This sharpener, so to say, is a great sharpener. It's an AccuSharp knife and tool sharpener, it says, but we use them for knives. And they are by far the quickest and fastest way to sharpen a knife quickly. Now, you have to understand something. When we're working for Greg on the Blackhawk there, we're filleting a lot of fish, as most of you guys know.
Thousands.
Yeah. So
Per
when we
trip.
put an edge on this, a few swipes on this will get you through a few orders of fish relatively, opposed to taking your time on the stones. And as you guys know, a lot of you guys wait for us to fillet them, and sometimes we get so many we have to wait at the dock to fillet them. These are a lot quicker to get us through those orders rather than taking the extra 10 minutes on the stone. So this AccuSharp, it's a great sharpener, but it will eat up the knives quite a bit.
They do eat it up. Here you can see this is halfway gone,
Now,
and this one here is really gone.
Now, what he says about rusting, this knife right here is brand new. It's never been touched, but because it's been sitting on the boat in a knife sheath, the salt air gets to it. It gets pitted a little bit and it starts to change color. This one's been used, obviously, and you can see this was brand new, middle of the summer. You can see how it's lost its edge already, just from running it down this. Now, if you use a stone, you're still gonna lose some edge, lose some of the knife, but it won't be as drastic.
Not anywhere near as much. Though.
No, but these things are quick and they work really, really well.
Did we mention where we are? I don't know, did we? Oh yeah, I did. The fisheries.
You
Mike
said we're at
Pugley's.
Mike's, yeah.
We go back a long ways, Mike and I. We got some fish over here. Mike, let's bring Mike into here. Mike Pugley's owns two fish markets. Okay, and I used to sell you a lot of fish, boy. And
Greg sold me a ton of fish, and the one factor that separated him from most everybody else that I bought from was the quality. And in those days, I bought a lot of tuna from him. And tuna, more than anything, even though these guys said, yes, slushing is important, bleeding, etc., tuna, with the craze on that stuff today, is become such an item that the price has gone through the roof. And people don't realize how stringent, the care is on that. But Greg always took care of it. And I trusted him because a lot of people don't realize that you can get deathly sick from tuna. And if it's not taken care of properly from point A to point C, from the boat to me, you're taking a chance. So
how about the fish we used to get on the wrecks? I used to.
He'd pull up on a
hake.
wreck and he'd get me hake and cod and pollock, and the stuff was in Riga when I got it, and I mean you could hold it for a week, and that's the beauty of getting fish whole. Much of the stuff that's being sold today is being brought in from God knows where. We still do things the old-fashioned way. These guys, myself, it's done the way it should be done. And if you want good fish, that's the way it has to be done. It's not coming from China. It's not being treated with preservatives. We cut everything, and that's where
We're gonna
show you to cut it.
We're gonna show you. We're gonna cut them right now. We had haddock last week, Mike, you run up to Boston quite a bit, Boston,
That's right.
Gloucester,
We buy
to
a
get
lot
it.
of fish on the pier.
It's tough getting it here, but we had haddock last week, and I'm taking the haddock home tonight that you cut here
Right.
for dinner tomorrow night, and it's superb. That's all there is to it.
Unfortunately,
All seafood is not equal. It's like all
No.
fishing boats; they're not equal.
due to the regulations, it's unfortunate. We have to get a lot of fish out of ports north of here. The Stonington, Point Judith ports have pretty much dried up due to a number of different reasons. But if you have good connections, and I've been in it a long time, and they know I'm fussy, you'll get the right stuff, even if it's not necessarily from right around here. So.
Do we have any questions, Randy? Anything coming up?
Not too much.
No?
Just the usual people saying hi.
Don't forget, you can text in if you have a question, or phone in. Heather's waiting at the phone.
I think someone asked earlier, just want to know where we get our knives from. I mean, you can buy them anywhere, but what do you
Honestly,
recommend?
we get them wholesale because we go through so many of them, but you can get them at any local tackle
Any
shop.
local tackle store will have them.
J&B, for example, who we do a lot of business with, and like I said, we're not trying to sell anything for them, but they have all the knives you need, as you've seen in our previous videos where we've been at J&B quite a bit. So J&B Tackle, but you can get them in most of any local tackle shops that sell.
Someone wants to know when Porgy season starts, but that's a
Porgy season. That's right around.
You know, none of the seasons have been set yet. It's a real throw of the dice. I'll tell you. We wish they would do it earlier, but they.
It's
the state-
usually right first week of May, first week of May,
yeah,
right?
when we start.
When we start, but it's open now or whatever that
It is open, but they're not.
Yeah.
They're not there.
Someone wants to know if haddock are big fish, but we're going to show them one soon so we can.
We're gonna bring you over here. We'll show you haddock. Go ahead. You
Go
and
ahead, CJ, start
okay.
in, brother.
maybe we should have a contest between the two of you guys. You know.
Let's get a knife now.
That's an average size. I have bigger.
I will.
Is that all right?
I will show you one other thing. This is a fillet glove. Many of us use them. I'm sure most of you guys do yourself. Especially on the big boats, we got to speed through cutting, and this will save a finger from time to time. Sometimes you get a little careless, knife slips, hit your finger, going to the hospital. Well, this right here, and I'll demonstrate. I'll have Greg hold it.
Why do I have to hold it?
You're gonna hold one end, and this will save.
Ah!
This will save your hand. See, it won't cut right
Let
through
me see
it.
that. Let me see that. That thing's dull as can be. What are you giving him a con job here?
These
No, it's sharp.
these I personally, this is a glove I order off of Amazon. You just search Filet Glove or something along those lines, and you find them. They're relatively cheap. Keep them clean; they'll last for a while. But I'm going to put one on here just to demonstrate and show you guys, and I'm going to go.
You want to take your jacket off?
No, I'll just
Come on over here, Randy. Mike, go ahead. Hack one of them.
All right.
Just
Let
show
me
what I
just,
do.
let me
This is
just
a-
add one thing here. When I first met Greg pushing 50 years ago, the one thing that he pushed his mates and people that worked for him, and in those days he had a smaller boat, what we call a six-pack, and he took out smaller parties. But he wanted his mates to produce fish market quality fillet.
No question about it. That was our product.
And you can see it with these guys here right now, that they take pride in how they produce the fish for you guys.
Hey, Mike, we have a question. Maybe you could answer this one. Someone wants to know the best way to remove worms from a cod fillets, or how to find them.
Andrew Ortiz. Andrew Ortiz is asking how to remove cod worms.
The best way to remove them is if you can get what we used to do in the day is you get like a fluorescent light, and you put some kind of a piece of plexiglass over the top of the light and lay the fillet down, and that shines through so you can see the worms.
Most of
It's interesting how that comes about.
when I'm when I'm filleting or when I'm eating my codfish at home off the boat, what I like to do, it's pretty simple. You can even hold it up to your kitchen light, okay, and then you
That's
look,
right. That's
and you can kind of see them. You'll see a little dark spot, and you take the corner of your knife, the tip of it, and just kind of dig them out. Now they are benign; they can't hurt you once you cook them.
They are the only ones. The
I
haddock
believe so.
don't have it. The pollock don't have it.
No, that's correct. That's
How do
correct.
you do it, Mike?
All
Show
right,
them
so
how.
here we go.
This
Make-
is
make sure you
both
go
of these
slow.
guys fish do it a little bit differently, but
Yeah, everybody fillets a little different.
he's starting right at the dorsal.
Start at the top and you come back. And you take your time. I mean, you guys don't have to break speed records, but for us, it's all about yield. You want to get every ounce of fish that you can get. And then when you get to that point, that's the rib cage.
That's
You
show
want
'em.
you want to try to take the tip of your knife and just go over the rib cage like that and try to, so you don't grab all those bones. You're going to get some bones, but you want to try to omit that part of the bone structure. Then you just lay it down like that. Then you come back this way, pull it up, and come back that way. So that, I use a short knife like these guys do for the fish, but then I use a longer knife, which I don't have here. Let me grab it.
Is this one for me? Is this going to be my
Oh,
fillet?
you can have anyone you want.
You can have anybody. You can have anyone. So what do you need my walleye for then, or Jake's walleye?
Well,
You just want. It's
I
the
just want a
principle.
walleye. Just the
It's-
principle. He's been
So I like to use a little longer knife to skin these fish. So you start the easiest way, and actually skinning can be more difficult in some respects than filleting. To do a good skin job, especially for us, it has to be scraped well. Otherwise, it doesn't present well in the case. And for you guys that are limited to the amounts of fish that you can take, you want these guys to get as much as they can off the fish. So you start like that. You make one cut.
You're trying to get that,
And
that
you're trying
nice
to
white
get,
net
see
silver.
that's what we call the sheen. If you see that on the back of your fillet, you know you've done a good job skinning. So once you make a start, you're going to pull the skin as you work the knife along. And if you want to keep seeing, you can keep folding it up like that, and just work that knife along, pulling the skin as you go. And that's it. And then I don't always get all the bones. I mean, this is the membrane on the belly. On the haddock, we do cut the belly off because sometimes it can taste a little funky. Then there's just a little bit of bone at the top, which we cut out. And then that's it. And that's how it should look. Fish market quality, off the Black Hawk right there.
Now that's your haddock.
That's haddock.
Now we have a pollock and a sole. Do you want to show everybody maybe what a sole is? A flatfish.
This is unfortunately
Very similar to your flounder, correct?
right. There's a zillion types of flounder. This is something called a gray sole.
Now we don't get these.
Can I just interrupt something because
Yeah.
I think this is pretty
Go
interesting.
ahead.
I want to show them.
Oh yeah.
I got you. In a fish market setting like this, you have to get as much meat off of that fish as you can. I'm going to show you a piece of paper that's probably it's probably 30 years old. Mike gave this to me 30 years ago, maybe longer. And what it is the percentages of what the yield should be on these fish. Okay, I just wanted to know because I was cutting a lot of fish, and if you get like 100 pounds of bluefish whole with the guts, you should get approximately somewhere 47, 48, 49 pounds of fillets.
Yeah.
It should be right around 50%. Striped bass was 35 to 38%. Codfish was 40 to 45. But this thing has been with me for that long.
And you have to realize,
Mike gave me the percentages. I didn't know. Fluke, 40, 42%.
Yeah.
Sea bass, 35% on medium fish.
That's right.
Okay? So that's...
And that's, there lies the reason that fish is expensive. You're throwing away a bigger percentage than you're keeping. So if you paid $3 for a codfish and you get 40%, that fish is costing me just to produce on this board $7.50. Then I tack my profit on. So if people are wondering why the right fish is so expensive, that's the reason. It's just you just don't get much.
Hey, sorry, not to interrupt.
No.
I just want to get to some of these questions.
Yeah.
Eric Carlson would like to know. I know he's asking about a porgy, but the bone structure in many fish is relatively the same in the fillet itself. He's curious on how to get the bones out of the center bones. Should maybe show the V notch.
The pin bones,
Yeah.
you mean, the pins?
Eric,
What we
Eric,
call
we'll
the
show
pins.
you.
Anyhow.
Every fish, majority of them have the pin bones.
That's right.
So we will demonstrate on this.
So this is a pollock. So I'm going to demonstrate it on this. So again, when you're filleting, you don't want to waste anything. So get right up into that head.
He's cutting right up what we call a shoulder right up here. And there's a big chunk of meat in there.
Get right up into that.
Some guys take the knife
And
and
they
they go straight here, and they're wasting all this chunk of meat.
That's right.
You just can't do
Right.
it.
And so we try, it's maximum yield. So then you cut through the nape, so you're free and clear here. So then, again, you want to follow this dorsal fin right along. That's your line. So you're going to come down just like I did on the haddock, and you just follow and press down with your hand, because the thing that you want to do is to try to keep this fish flat to the board so it's not moving around. So take your left hand if you're right-handed and just press down on that fish as you're coming down the edge. Again, fold it up, and you want to the thing that a lot of people might do is they'll get underneath that skeleton. Try to stay above it, because once you get underneath it,
This is the bone structure right here.
Right.
Right
So there's the
you
bone.
You can take that. Let me just see that knife for a minute. You can hear it. Ready? Hear it? He's right on the bone. There's nothing wasted there.
And take your time. Remember, if this is new to you, make sure
Right.
you take
I mean,
your time.
you're right. You don't have to break any. So then, same type of thing. You're going to come over using the tip of your knife.
These are the ribs you're looking at
So
right there.
we're to answer your question, I'm gonna once I get this fillet off, I'm gonna show you. There's really no easy way other than cutting them out yourself. So
I suppose some people could go home and tweeze them out if you wanted to say it, but that's
right,
pretty time consuming.
that's time consuming.
Yeah, I heard people use like a needle nose plier and take the pins out.
So again, I'm gonna skin it. You're seeing the same premise. I'm holding that skin and working it. You can see him just sort of. You can do that
Now,
kind of
he's
motion.
not really using the knife all that much. He's
No.
just holding it at an angle and pulling with his left hand.
So as far as the bones, I'm able to get a lot of the bone out because of the way I cut. But essentially, to answer your question,
This
if
is
you get
called your V-notch.
this is the V-notch. So if it's a cod, which is more pronounced, pollock and haddock, the bones don't come down as far. But on a cod, they do come down further. So you're gonna pretend this is a cod. You're gonna just cut it right out. Just go to either side of that bone. You don't have to waste much, and just cut it out like that, and then that's it.
There
And
you
again, you got your sheen there. There's no waste on the skin, and that's it. So essentially, any round fish, cod, pollock, haddock, it's all sort of the same technique. The flatfish, it's a little more difficult.
Now that's not your common sole.
No,
I mean,
it's
gray
not.
gray sole. This is kind of unique here.
This is kind of like the cream of the crop.
Yeah, we won't catch these where we're fishing
Yeah,
on the black.
don't ask when we're going to go after the gray sole. You know.
He's not making any Gulf of Maine trips soon. But
That's
that's
where they are.
That's where they get these. And it's unfortunate because this is the only flatfish we can get right now due to regulations. You can't even get good old-fashioned flounder or yellowtail. So you can see that here, you can see by the look of this fish, okay? And essentially it's the same with most flounder, but on a gray sole, you're only getting one strip off of this fish, all right? The rest of this is waste. So same premise, you make that cut right down like that, but a lot of guys that cut flatfish go this way. I was taught to come across like this, towards you.
There's that much waste.
There's
Huh?
that
I've
much,
never
yeah.
seen you cut a gray sole.
I've
That's
never
that
seen
much.
a gray Colson.
Well, Heather's got a question.
So there you go. So it's just that one strip down the center,
Hi, Scooter.
and that's it. You can see.
You got a question from somebody?
Maximum yield. You flip it over, and it's obviously they're called gray sole because of the color of their belly. You flip it over.
The hardest type. We got a question.
Okay.
We got a question. Okay, she's going to text me somebody wants to know what you feel the hardest type of fish to fillet. Probably
These right here.
they are without a doubt.
Yeah,
What about the large scaled fish like striped bass, porgies?
Stripers are generally easy.
I would say relatively simple.
Yeah, I mean porgies. I don't do a lot of porgies. These guys are the ones to talk to about that. I don't particularly like cutting porgies because of the scales. They're used to it. It's such a heavy scale.
Just knocks the heck out of the knife.
Knocks the heck out of the knife, and I have a problem with that knife skipping up over the scales.
Yep.
So I have to be careful if and when I do cut a few, because if that thing, if I catch myself with that knife, and by the way, it's better to have a sharp knife than a dull knife.
Oh.
You do not want to start cutting fish with a knife that you're struggling with, because you're more apt to cut yourself that way. So that's why the sharpening thing is so critical.
From my point of view, if I had to say, flatfish are probably relatively the toughest.
Yeah.
Not that they're tough, but they're flat, and they're for the amateurs. They're a little more tougher
Right.
to cut.
And this is definitely the toughest of all the flatfish. If we were to cut a regular winter flounder, a yellowtail flounder, a fluke, it's not as bad as this. This is probably the most difficult, and you're not, like I said, you're not going to have the opportunity to really catch these anyway. But it was all we could get. But that's all you get, and that's what people wonder why fish is expensive in the supermarket.
Look at the waste on that. Not waste, but it's just
terrible.
It's thin.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's something. But this is top of the line.
Top of the line. That's the closest thing to Dover sole that we catch in this country. If anybody knows or have ever heard of Dover sole, that's like the creme de la creme.
Now I'm sure, as a lot of our customers do, Greg, they like to take the fish home whole. They like the whole fish. So, not that it's waste to a lot of people, because a lot of people disagree with that. They'll have the fish headed and gutted, as you know, and take the whole thing home, and they will eat every piece of it.
Yep.
So it's not, I wouldn't call it waste. I would just call it, because some people absolutely enjoy the rest of the whole fish.
The thing about skinning, flatfish are difficult to skin because, particularly with fluke and these gray sole, not so much with flounder, but the white side on a fluke, for instance, is very difficult because it has a tendency to split. The meat sort of adheres to the skin worse than any of these types of fish. So you'll see in a minute. This is what we call the dark side of the flounder. It's easier, and you can see it comes off the skin a lot easier. But on the white side, or the underside, in this case it's gray, but on a normal case, a normal flounder would be white. If I'm not careful, what'll happen, this will start to split, and it does the same thing on fluke. This is actually the thinner side of the fish. So it's a little more different. You can see it's almost starting, no matter how.
There it is, yeah.
There it is. It's just the nature of the beast. And in fluke, if you do catch a fluke and you're splitting that white side, don't feel as though you're necessarily doing anything wrong. It happens to the best of us. Just make sure your knife is sharp and you work that thing along in a slow fashion. But
Am I gonna like the haddock better than the sole? Because I think I'm gonna take some of that sole too.
It's a different animal. It's just more delicate. You know, you seem to like the thicker fish. I mean, this is what you want to fry right here. This stuff
wouldn't take long to fry.
No, you dip this in an egg wash, then in some crumbs, and then in the fry pan. It's killer.
Instantaneous.
This is more baking fish.
A couple of questions. William, I see you had a question about filleting of monkfish. It's hard to talk about without having one here. Monkfish are a pretty interesting fish as themselves. Without having one here, it'd be pretty difficult to discuss how to fillet it. And there was one more question down the bottom. How do you avoid all the waste, correct?
Yeah.
A lot of our customers and a lot of people themselves, they want the whole fish. Now, what's that mean? They'll either take the heads on or off, take the guts out, take the scales off. On the boat, we have a giant scaler, takes the scales right off, and they will have the guts out, and you cook the fish whole. They fry them, they bread them like that. This way you have everything, and they pick the meat right off the bones instead of just having a fillet.
Hi, Heather.
You have the whole rack, the whole thing, and then they cook the head as well and make fish head soup. I know that's a very, very popular dish. A lot of our friends and family and customers make those themselves, and I've never personally had it, but I've heard good things about it.
We always tell them to wash it in salt water.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the saltwater wash.
Okay, so rinse and fillets, I've noticed and I've learned through a lot of people that do it.
Using the fish rack in the fish stock.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I've noticed, especially in saltwater fish, you always want to rinse your saltwater fish off in a salt water. So obviously, you get home up in the middle of the state, you're not going to have access to salt water. What I like to do is, before I cook it, or as I'm vacuuming, sealing it, or whatever, add some salt, some table salt to your fresh water. Make a little brine, make it salty. Then rinse it off with some ice cubes in it. You want to keep it in a saltwater fish wants to stay in the salt water. You got a question? Greg's got a question.
One of the questions was, is it easier to fillet a fish out of ice water or as soon as you catch it? I don't know how Mike feels about it. Well, I know how you feel about it, but ideally, if you can take them porgies, I mean, we got to cut them when they're what we call green. I mean, but ideally, if you ice them and refrigerate them and then cut them the next day,
that's the optimum way.
The yield would be better.
Yeah.
You want to let them harden up a little. You want to let them bleed out.
We're forced. All the boats are forced because the people aren't going to come back the next day. Obviously, they want them cut right then and there. But the ideal way to do it for you at home is you ice them. Okay, ice them, take care of them. You should refrigerate them too. You need both.
Right.
You need to keep them wet on ice and refrigerate them.
A cooler would work.
Or in a
Or-
cooler.
or in a
Very
cooler
nice.
outside.
But the yield will definitely be better than just taking a fish and trying to,
And it's harder to cut them warm.
Faith wants the flatfish for dinner. She wants to know if she can have it.
Faith, you're going to have to. Faith wants the soul, huh? I got the soul. We'll get you another piece of Faith.
Well, guys,
There's a couple. No, there's one more question here. Wait, let me. What kind of knife does Mike prefer?
Well,
Where?
now this is his opinion. Everybody has a different
right.
opinion.
I've gone through a lot of different knives over the years. I prefer a more flexible, short-bladed knife to cut any of these fish, but I still prefer the Dexter long-bladed knife to do the skinning. So for me, I have to have that flexibility. Which years ago I used to use a stiff knife to even cut these what we call round fish, but now I stay with a more flexible knife. I have better control with the tip. So those are what I prefer. Those are what I like. But again, it's in the eye of the beholder, and it's what you're accustomed to using.
Can you talk about using the fish rack or the carcass in fish stock? You go ahead.
Absolutely. So what most
If you want to use.
If you want to make a good fish stock, that's absolutely the best way to do it. We get our fish in when we buy them off the boats up north. They're gilled, so you could use the head.
They don't know what that means.
No, now when you gill a fish, they're essentially where they breathe from.
Right.
You take all the, like, if you look under my throat here, if you were to take
These are
all
CJ's gills, right?
these are my, pretend I have gills as far as the fish. You would take all this stuff out where you would bleed the most from. And then you have essentially your bone and your meat.
And we love getting them like this because the bacteria forms in the gills first. So I believe in some of the ports it's mandatory
Oh, is it really? I didn't
to
know.
have them gilled at certain times of the year.
Wow, isn't that something?
I didn't know.
So we love seeing it like this, and you can see there that the haddock. Now they can't do it on the flatfish or porgies or things like that because they're too small. They could never gill a fish. It would take them 10 years to be gilling fish that small. So they stay in. But on these larger fish, the gills come out of them.
Tell the people, because I know the fish that I used to sell to you, we used to pack these fish stomach down.
That's right.
You don't want, when you put them in the cooler, you want to pack it stomach down and the ice on top of them.
That's correct.
Okay, makes a big difference too.
Makes a big difference.
How you handle the fish. I mean, we can't emphasize it enough.
yeah.
From the time you get it on the deck of the boat or whatever, until the time it gets into your frying pan, makes a big difference. The quality makes a big difference.
It does. I mean, you're consuming it, and you don't want to be taking a chance, jeopardizing, getting
A lot of people say, well, I just caught it, and it's 3-4 hours, and I'm going in.
That's been the adage for years, whether it's on a dragger or rod and reel boats. They think, oh, we're out there for the day.
No big
We
deal.
don't need ice. It's perfect. We caught it 4 hours ago. But it makes all the difference. And as to answer again the question on the racks, the person that asked about cooking the racks for stock.
Bouillabaisse.
Definitely the best way to go. If you didn't want to deal with the head, you could just take this portion of the skeleton and boil it in some water with some carrots and celery and onions, and you make an excellent stock. And then what you do when it's done, use a bunch of them. If you have a bunch of them, you don't skimp. You don't want it to be dishwater. So if you got 4 or 5 racks that you want to just break them up and put them right in the water with the veggies, and then you'll have to pour it through a strainer so the bones don't get in with the juice after you're finished with it. But that's by far the best way to make a stock.
Hey, Mike, I know you were saying sea bass is really popular, and I know you like the sea bass. People want to know the best way to cook it? I mean, it's subjective to what you like, but what do you
God.
I think
recommend?
sea bass is a very mild fish to begin with.
Most of the people that come in the store, the big thing that's happened with sea bass, fish tacos. 85% of the people that come in wanting sea bass, what's the best thing to use for fish tacos? And I steer them that way.
I tell people on the boat all the time, it's an excellent eating fish. It's just how you want to eat it.
And
Everybody's different.
It's a great chowder fish.
Yeah,
it holds together. Blackfish and sea bass are very similar. They hold together in a chowder. They don't break down like these fish. These are much softer. Those fish they'll hold together in a chunk form. So they're great for chowders, fish tacos. You can grill them. They, in most grilled
It's
fish.
a great fish all around.
I like to use the saying, KISS. Keep it stupid simple.
Keep it
Simple, stupid.
Stupid simple, stupid.
Almost there.
Little
Almost.
salt and pepper, little butter, little lemon juice in the pan. Perfect. You don't want to overdo it. You don't want to take the flavor of the fish away. What was our other question? There was one more. Coming up from, he wants to come, good time to come up from North Carolina for sea bass. I'd recommend the fall.
Yeah, the fall's the best because you get a good combination of everything. You not only get the sea bass, you get the scup, you get the codfish. We catch a few pollock. I mean, it's the only thing. The longer the season goes on, you have to look at the weather. That's all. I mean, there's great fishing in October, November, December. But it's the longer you go, the longer you wait. It's getting closer towards the winter. It's a weather situation.
Hey, Mike, I know you always have the freshest fish, so it's not a problem for you. But someone wants to know if they were looking for fresh fish in the market, but they don't want to ask. What do they want to look for? Like, what are they?
Well, first of all, don't buy fish in the supermarket. That's my first recommendation. If you have a fish market that's nearby, you got to trust the person behind the counter. If you're looking yourself, the thing that I tell people is that in the tray, there shouldn't be any juice in that tray. If there's a lot of juice, that means that fish was treated with something called sodium tripoly, and it's releasing the water. It's a price point.
There's so many tricks that's going on in this.
That's the problem, and it's not your fault as a consumer. You've been you've been hit with so many different things and import items that it's even hard for us to sometimes tell. So that's why we fillet everything, because it's the only foolproof measure to assure quality. To answer your question, look for the juice in the tray. And you don't want the fish to be, even though this is probably an exception to the rule, it's very white, okay, gray sole. So that's the normal color. But if you go into a store and you see these fish like that, you know it's been soaked. You can see the luster of that haddock. It's got sort of like a pinky white cast. If it looks like that, you know there's been some shenanigans. So that's the best way I can tell you.
And it happens everywhere. Don't they put scallops in water to soak
That's
up
where it started. The problem with this
they
is
put the scallops in the water.
A solution almost.
so it gains 30% water weight.
It gains water weight and you're buying it.
And you're buying it, it makes the price come down, and they're doing it with fish too. So when I talk about this sodium tripoly, it's being used, it started in scallops, but now it's being used in all fish products, and it's disgusting. You're better off not eating the stuff. So you want to go to a market that's hopefully doing what we're doing here. I mean, this isn't for show, this is what we do every day. So this isn't like a ploy to impress the public.
Oh, they're impressed, Michael.
This is what we do every day, and it's a lot of work and a lot of mess, but it's the only way to have a good product. I mean, so I hope that helps you.
Andrew, I see you have your question here as far as the head boats using the burlap sacks. Yeah, we do carry them on the boat, quite frankly, because we get a lot of customers throughout the summer months that they're here for a day or two. They don't really know what's going on. That's what we're doing these videos.
Yeah, they rent rods. They don't really have the prepared.
Tell them look at all the coolers we have on the boat. That if we see somebody without a cooler,
we offer you coolers. But
we try to give you a cooler just to use.
The burlap sacks, that's why we're doing these seminars. We're trying to get the less experienced people involved in how to take care of them, how to properly ice them up. But we do have the burlap sacks, and people will use them. I recommend as soon as you get them in a sack, though, you want to bring a cooler. The sack is just something to put them in. We don't want them falling over the deck.
We try to the best of our ability. We have numerous coolers, and if we see somebody without one, we'll ask, would you like one? Here, take it.
And they always take us up on it.
And they always take us up on it. The days of going with burlap bags and filling the bag and sloshing it over you. I mean, it used to kill me 30 years ago, the bluefish. They'd throw the damn things in the trunk of the car with no ice. In a burlap bag, it's been sitting there all day. Oh my God.
We still see it.
We still see it sometimes. You know, you can bring that mule to water.
Yeah.
But you can't make him drink, you know?
I saw Tom, you're asking about the squid fishing. We're going to start, I would assume, maybe a little earlier than last with the squid. We want to get on them when they first show up. So depending on the water temperature, it could be in April, but we will definitely be doing them in May, and we're going to try to the best
We're
of our
going to try to
ability
do a lot of them this year. There's so much interest in the squid, and it's so much fun, and they're so good to eat.
And Tom, I'll be the first to text you to let you know, okay? So stand by on
Someone
that.
wants to know where Mike's Market is. Where, I don't know what the
Well,
address
I
is.
have
Mystic here.
one in Mystic, Connecticut. And I have one in Westerly, Rhode Island, out by Musquamacut, on the one near Musquamacut. Dunn's Corners area.
Yep.
And they're both called the Fishery. This is the Mystic Fishery. We're in the Mystic store tonight, and then the other one's just.
Filleted.
I don't know what else we can talk about. I hope it was educational to you. I hope you learned a little bit.
If we did miss anything, you know where we are, so you can phone us in.
Yeah,
and,
keep the questions coming in. Email us, text us, whatever, and make sure you take your kids fishing.
If you have any questions on the knives again that we showed you, we'd be more than happy to put a little thing up on the website, or we'll answer your questions for as
You're
far
going
as
to put a
size.
little thing up on the website?
Well, I don't know if Heather or anybody put something up on the Facebook or the website to acknowledge people. I think we do.
God,
That hurts.
You're so muscular.
That hurts.
Man, you're
All right, looks like
All right,
we're
this is the
Okay,
shenanigans.
we're done. Okay, folks, thank you very much. Take your kids fishing, okay? If you don't have any kids, take your neighborhood kids fishing, but it's important, okay? There's too much of this in life and not enough of this.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see you next week, okay?